Bonjour, mon petit chifle, Amber here, and I have been slacking so hard with filming. If I'm being honest, lately I just haven't had the energy, motivation, just desire to film anything, but I'm trying to force myself out of it. So first things first, I need to film my January wrap up. I have two videos to film for this channel, one for my second channel. If you didn't know, I have a second channel that's devoted to like mostly like travel videos, language videos, food. So if you're interested in any of those things, the link is down below. Anyway, so like I just said, I have not filmed my January or February reading wrap-ups, and we are just about halfway through March. So I'm gonna start with January. And in January, I read a total of 4 books, 3 of them being physical books. Yeah, let's just talk about them. I don't know, it's been a while since I've sat down and filmed. I feel rusty. Anyway, the first book that I completed in January is perhaps not perhaps, 100% one of my favorite books of the year so far. And like I said, it's only March. It's definitely going in my top video of the at the end of the year. Also definitely my favorite romance that I've read, and it's worth every amount of hype it's been getting, and it is Get a Life Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. I picked this book up months ago. Ooh. I just had it on my one single tiny bookcase, and every couple of weeks my mom's like, when are you gonna read that book? Did you read that book yet? I'm gonna get to it. And I finally did. So briefly, this book follows Chloe, who is this, she's like a computer programmer, I think. It says computer geek. She has fibromyalgia, and at the beginning of the story she has this near-death experience, which leads her to make a list of things that she wants to do basically before she can't, because she's like, if I had died, my obituary would have basically been like bland and boring, and she wants to do some exciting things. Which brings us to our other main character, our love interest, Redford, who is the superintendent of the complex flat building, I don't know, I'm not English, apartment building that Chloe doesn't matter, moves into, leaving her well-off family to live on her own, which is one of the top things on her list. Their relationship basically starts as a, I don't want to say hate to love, because I guess it could be sort of like a, not enemies, but just disgruntled neighbors, which is kind of just like a I don't know, their personalities kind of clash at the beginning, because Chloe is quite sarcastic and sometimes can seem a little rude. I think it's like mostly a defense mechanism. Relatable. And things kind of shift between them. One, when he catches her spying on him painting. He was a pretty acclaimed artist in London, and he's like getting, an incident happened where he gave up his art and only paints in secret now, and she kind of catches him doing it. And then there are a lot of incidents. She kind of ropes him into helping her check off the things on her list, and they get closer. And this book was so good. Oh my god, these two are so cute. Red is so adorable and precious, and just like, I love him so much. Like, I love the whole bad boy exterior, soft cinnamon roll on the inside, because like homeboy is a motorcycle and wears a lot of like, what, motorcycle clothes? What? No, he doesn't. Anyway, but he is so sweet and caring, and he takes care of his mom, who's diabetic. And I'm like, Dawn, is that you? I just really loved this book. It was everything that I wanted it to be. It was more than I wanted it to be, because like I don't know, whatever, it's being hyped up, but like this, like I said before, deserves every ounce of hype that it's getting. I would read an entire series following these two. I found Chloe really relatable, not always in the best way, but just a lot of her personality is like me, and a lot of the way she handles people and relationships is like me. But on the flip side, she also obviously reminds me a lot of my mom. My mom also has fibromyalgia, so I told her she has to read this book, and I 5 out of 5 stars, and I can't wait for the second book in this little series, the Brown Sisters series. The next one is Take a Hint, Dani Brown, which follows Chloe's sister Dani, and that sounds like it's going to be so good too. So prepare to hear me rant about that. I think that comes out soon. I think it was in my list of anticipated reads. I think was it it should have been, but I now want to read all of Talia's other books because she's a fave. Okay, I could keep talking about this book, and this will probably be the one that I remember the most. Let's move on. So next I picked up another book I had been meaning to read for even longer, actually. When did I get this? I got this, when did it come out? I think I got this last year. That doesn't matter. Anyway, it's The Light Between Worlds by Laura E. Weymouth. First of all, I still really love this cover. Now this book was pitched to fans of the Narnia books. It follows two sisters, Evelyn and Philippa. When they were 6 years ago, I believe, they and their brother, what is his name? Jamie, that's his name. Can't keep calling him Peter in my head. Anyway, were basically whisked off to this Narnia-esque land, after like kind of like hiding in their bomb shelter during World War II in London. And this is the story of what happens to these sisters after they've returned from Narnia, the woodlands. This took me a minute to get, like a couple of minutes to get into, simply because of the fact that it is pitched as a Narnia-esque book without being a retelling. And I think if it were, in the beginning I said if it were pitched as a retelling it would have been easier, because I spent a lot of this book comparing every single bit of it to The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, mainly because for a good chunk of it, I guess the build up, the world building backstory almost felt like Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe fan fiction. This is coming from a Narnia super fan. That's the reason I picked up the book. I have been a Narnia ride or die stanny my whole life. That was the series that I learned to read with, specifically The Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe. The movies, I know every single line, every single breath, pause, look to. I can honestly say all 3 movies, even though like the first 2 are superior. One of my oldest friends and I refer to each other as Edmund and Peter, and we're planning this whole Narnia adventure to New Zealand, etc. Anyway, so that's the reason I picked up this book. It felt like it was written for me. So, but at the same time, I guess that is kind of a drawback and a problem, because like I just said, I spent a lot of it comparing it to Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, even down to the characters. The fact that, I mean, I guess it's not really my fault, because it is very similar at the beginning. I think the main difference for me is that there are 3 siblings instead of 4. Edmund does not deserve this disrespect. Evelyn is very much the Lucy character, but at the same time, because it's me, I kept comparing her to Georgie Henley's depiction of Lucy, and which kind of, this kind of lacked that, but at the same time they're not the same character. I was making a point. I don't remember what it was. What was that? So it took me a couple of minutes to get into it, to get past that, to keep pushing. There were times I'm like, I don't care, like I can't get into this book. It's too similar, it's too much. If you watched my reading vlog from January, I think there's a lot of me talking about how like it's a rip-off, like a watered down rip-off. It felt like even Evelyn's roommate at school, his name's Georgie, and I'm like, what? But then I kept reading through it, and I'm glad that I actually ended up pushing through it, because it does become its own thing, and it's like a lot deeper and more somber, I guess, than I expected it to be. It's a lot heavier than I thought it was going to be, because a lot of the book talks, it like focuses on grief and depression, just like all the emotions that go with like living this whole life and then being transferred back to our world, especially because Evelyn, the way it happened, it was harder for her. That wasn't what she wanted. It's almost like she took the scene from Prince Caspian and the train station scene where Peter's like, don't you ever get tired of being treated like we're kids? And Edmund's like, well, we are kids. And Peter's like, well, I wasn't always. It's literally like what happens after that. It also deals with not just mental illness, yes, mental illness on a personal level, but also the effects, how it affects the people around you, basically. Like I said, it's both sister stories. So the first half is Evelyn's story and the second half is Philippa's story. Oh, I didn't mention that the story is about what happens when Evelyn goes missing also. That's like the second half, because that's not a spoiler, that's on the flat. Philippa's trying to figure out if Evelyn was able to find a way back to the woodlands, or if something else happened to her. Yeah, this book was a lot more emotional than I thought it was going to be, considering for a long time I thought it was just a Narnia copy and paste. I would say that I don't know if they're listed in the book or on a website or something, but there should definitely be some trigger warnings for, like I said, depression, possible like suicide, mentions of suicide, self-harm, possible eating disorder. I say all of this without trying to spoil anything, but just be aware, because I don't need like any sort of trigger warnings, but like I was also surprised at how heavy this book was going to be. But I'm glad, like I said, that I pushed through, and in the end I really did enjoy it. Okay, so the next book that I read was an ebook on my Kindle, which we can adorably see needs to be charged. That was an e-arc that I got from NetGalley. I downloaded from NetGalley. That was House Rules by Ruby Lang. This book, if I recall correctly, is about, I don't remember either of their names, I'm very sorry. Oh, this is, my phone is sitting on this mirror, so that's why it keeps making that noise. This is the story of basically a couple getting a second chance. Oh, apparently it's the third in a series, the Uptown series. Simon and Lana. I should really remember Lana. What is this book about? This follows Simon and Lana, who are a divorced couple, basically. Not basically, they are a divorced couple. And the story kind of starts when Lana moves back to New York, and I think they run into each other at an apartment viewing. And because she's moving back, she has a new job in the city. He has to move out of his like family's apartment. It's been like in his family for years, because one, it's small, they're doing renovations around him, it's like disturbing him. I think something happens which kind of forces him to look for a new place to live, or at least entertain the idea. And long story short, they are surprised to see each other there. Is that what happens? I think I'm making something up. Okay, I'm right. Long story short, Lana proposes to Simon that they become roommates, platonic roommates, obviously. And he's like, what? They move in together, and it's kind of the story of a couple getting a second chance. And it was fine. I didn't have any like groundbreaking thoughts about it. Nothing. I didn't hate it, didn't love it. It is what it is. I enjoyed the concept of a couple getting a second chance, and kind of like relearning each other, reintroducing themselves to each other. Because I guess because it's been so long since they were together, they've grown, they've changed. It was fine. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. After some of the things I've read from NetGalley, the romance novels I've read from NetGalley, that's great. And the last book I read in January, forgot what month I was talking about for a second, that's how long this has been. It's a book that was one of my most anticipated reads of 2019, but I didn't read it until it came out in December. To be fair, it came out in December and then I read it in January, so that's not bad, even though I've had the arc of it since like June. Reverie by Ryan LaSala. Now, I've talked about Reverie several times. I've talked about Ryan a lot because I met Ryan back at the book launch of I'm Not Dying With You Tonight, and that's when I won the arc of the book. Met Ryan, we had a whole long conversation, and he's kind of, I'd say, became friends. I don't know if Ryan would say that, but it's kind of like my writing Yoda. I almost say yoga. I will see myself out. The first thing he said to me when he was like, "Are you a writer?" I was like, huh? Working on it. So like we had a whole conversation like that. We talk about it every time I've seen him since then. His first question is like, so how's your writing coming? How's your book coming? I was like, Ryan, do you mind? But so I was really excited to finally pick this up. I got to pick this up at the Philly signing. Honestly, the most fun I've ever had at a book signing. All the footage is in my January reading vlog, all the shenanigans. I love Ryan, so I was very excited to finally read Reverie. This book has been pitched as like Inception meets something else. I don't remember what it was. This book follows Kane, who is missing a great chunk of his memory after being found by police half dead in the river. I'm just gonna read the flap. It's hard to explain. It says, all Kane Montgomery knows for certain is that the police found him half dead in the river. He can't remember how he got there, what happened after, or why his life seems so different now. And it's not just Kane who's different. The world feels off. Reality itself seems different. As Kane pieces together clues, 3 almost strangers claim to be his friends and the only people who can truly tell him what's going on. But as he and the others are dragged into unimaginable worlds that materialize out of nowhere, the school gym warps into a subterranean temple, a nearby historical home blooms into a Victorian romance rife with scandal and sorcery, Kane realizes that nothing in his life is an accident. And when a sinister force threatens to alter reality for good, they will have to do everything they can to stop it before it unravels everything they know. Reverie is a wildly imaginative debut about what happens when the secret worlds people hide within themselves break free. I mean, that's the gist of the book. There's a lot more within it. Basically, reveries are, like I mentioned, people's innermost dreams have escaped from the outside. There is this drag queen. My brain wants to keep saying wizard. So that's what we're going with, who is the villain, Posey, and they basically want to destroy our world to create basically their own reverie in their own world. Kane and company are like the only people who can defeat Posey. the people who are kind of immune to the reveries. Then there's I can never remember this boy's name. What's the boy's name? Dean, that's his name. There's Dean and the mystery around him, why Kane seems to know him without obviously knowing who he is. And there's all the cute, there's all the cute. Yeah, I liked the book. I enjoyed my time reading it. But at the same time, I'm not really sure how I feel about the book. I hate saying this. Ow, I hurt myself. I wrote down, I just wish it was a bit more cohesive. I just kind of felt like at times there was just like a bunch of things happening just put together, and I was supposed to be able to follow them. I think the whole reverie thing, the multiple reveries, kind of broke up the plot a little bit for me. I don't know. And I had a hard time connecting with Kane, but Adeline is queen, and I would definitely love more of, if not necessarily Dean's backstory, I just want more of he deserves more, is what I'm saying. You know, I want to know more about, I can't really say without spoiling, but I need more about how he works. Okay, so those are, like I said, the books that I read in January. Not too bad, not too bad. Solid start to the year, I think. I don't know how to do these videos anymore, but yes, I was gonna tell me, I don't know. February was definitely a more chunky reading month. I'm gonna film that wrap up next, so stay tuned for that. Thank you for watching this video. If you read any of these books, let me know what you think about them. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you like me, feel free to subscribe. All my places are down here so you can follow me, and I'll follow you back, and I'll see you very soon.